Now, let's welcome our hosts, Jay Cherish and Dame Deity. This is Millennial Intent, Conversations That Matter.
All right. How are you today?
Another day, another dollar.
Right? That's what it is when you're a mom and you're a working woman. It's always something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that really kind of goes into our topic today about trad wives. It's been going crazy on the internet. Have you heard trad wives have been going crazy on the internet?
I've known about trad wives my entire life, but go ahead, internet.
I guess it's just me. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe this is a blonde moment right here because I was like, a trad wife. To get clarity from you, what is a trad wife? And everybody knows, except for me, that it's short for a traditional wife.
Yeah, legit.
I really didn't know that. So a reason why it dawned on me because I was like, what's the big deal about traditional wives? I didn't know like trad wives. Why is it a thing? Why is it making it so cool on the internet? And why is it so it's coming up like there's so much controversy around the domestic woman and it's coming back into style. So a lot of these questions is why is it baffling people and why is it getting so much backlash for being a trad wife?
Because people are miserable and they want you to be miserable too.
Is
So
that
if they gotta work all the time, they want you to work all the time. Girl, if I could stay home, let me stay home.
Shoot. Exactly. That's what I say. And it's hard out here when you're the breadwinner, the disciplinary, you're controlling your household, you're the maid, you're the cook, you're all of that. And it's really hard. And I think the bigger issue is that a lot of women that are no longer wives, and because I've been looking at the backlash, because there's pros and cons when it comes to being a traditional wife.
Really?
And
enlighten me.
I will, honey. So I've been looking at some stories about women that said, one lady, she was talking about her friend. It's really all over TikTok. I'll get into that one in a second. But the main lady that's been on the news, she said that she was married, I think 15 or 18 years, and that, she didn't get a higher education because, she put herself on the back burner and let her husband, he went out, got an education. She was taking care of the household and there was a gap. And all of a sudden he cheated, he left, she didn't have alimony, no income or anything. The house was gone. She had 5 kids and now she's stuck. And to get back in the work field, she didn't have any education in her idea, like a higher education.
So just to inquire to go out with this was done in like recent years?
Yes, this has been on the news.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And she's a older lady. Well, no, I wouldn't say older. She's probably hitting her maybe 50. So not, I won't say, too older, but I mean she's a grown up.
I got what you're saying. Yeah, she's an adult.
And she said that there was like a 15-20 year gap in between the work because, she was taking care of her kids. She said the first part of it was okay because, her kids were younger and they were little, but there was a gap in education. So I'm just assuming maybe she had a high school diploma. She just didn't have, a higher education, but she didn't have work experience. So I'm assuming she was 18, 19 when she got married. And then, after 15, 18 years, but she said this happened years ago. And then after that, she had got remarried and went through the same situation again. And she just said that work gap just put her at a standstill. And I just think maybe it's a cultural difference. I just know that as us as women, we know that there's no one else to depend on. So even if there's like an educational gap, there's not that much of a work gap. So I empathize with her. However, I don't understand how you don't put preliminaries into effect while you are still in the marriage, even if the marriage is good. You still have to think about other outcomes.
And what if it's not?
Yes, that too. But I know that's another topic. Like, okay, her husband cheated and he wanted another wife. But I think some women, this is just some, and they say, oh, why did he she stopped taking care of herself, which she said she did. She stopped taking care of herself. She said she put herself on the back burner. She never really got herself together. She only put her kids first and her husband. And she just kind of surrounded her life around her husband. And it was basically, she didn't have any money. He would have to give her money to go shopping. It was almost like a kind of an allowance kind of thing. And she had no say so in the bills. And she wasn't even properly taking care of the finances as well in order when they were married. Mm-hmm. So that she's saying that, you know, the internet is glorifying this, but women don't see the downfall. And I'm just thinking, I've seen this happen a lot of times, especially working in finance. I remember this young lady, she was young and she had 2 small kids and she wanted to buy a car. She wanted to open an account. And I asked her to fill out an application. So, you know, most of the time when you're in finance or you want to buy something, a purchase, they're looking for a 2-year work history or just, you know, what kind of income you had. And she filled out the application. She didn't know how to fill out the application. So I was trying to guide her. She didn't know. And then I asked her, you know, she put homemaker. You know, I was young at the time. I was like, homemaker? What is this? She was like, yeah, I've been a wife she looked like she was a baby, but she was in her late 20s, but she was so young in how she looked. And so I thought she was young until I looked at her ID and I was like, okay. So she was like, in the last 7 years, I've been a mother. And then she's like, I have 2 smaller kids. I was like, oh, you have even more kids at home? She was like, yeah. And she was like, well, my husband said I didn't know I didn't have to work. And I didn't know she didn't know the account numbers because he had took the money out of one account and put it in his own account and then made a whole account where she can't access. But I can't tell her that. You know what I mean? So I didn't say anything. I can't say anything. I'm just looking and I just hear her story. And so I'm just like, okay. And then she was like, yeah, I never paid a bill. I never had a car, I never had a driver's license. And I guess they were really young when they got married. And she's like, I don't know. And I'm just was thinking from that day on, I was just like, how do you get so caught up inside of a relationship that you don't like? In my mind, I'm just like, how do you not know the basics? Like, but there's some women that do that. And so I can see where the backlash from the women that been there. But I know they said there's no balance when it comes to, yes, there has to be a balance within yourself to understand that that's just common sense. You just don't know if that person's going to die. You don't know if they're going to leave you. You don't know what a person is thinking. And you always plan for the worst. I don't know. Maybe that's
just this just comes because I think the angry people are just coming from a place of putting their trust in an individual and not playing. Back in the day when the traditional wives did their thing, women didn't have a lot of rights. Mm-hmm. And they had to rely on the man. Most times they relied on the man to get out of their current situation or because they couldn't stay in the family home. And that's why you have dowries and all that different kind of stuff. So that's what the woman was for, to run that house. But in today's age, there is no reason. And I see this is where a lot of women make mistakes. If your children are in school, what are you doing?
Yeah, because maybe they're cleaning the house.
There's no way. You're not taking care of the house all day. You're not, I think women need to stand up and take responsibility for their own failures because it's like, you did not properly utilize the time that was given to you. And I do say given because whether people like to say it or not, being a stay-at-home mom is definitely a gift. Everybody is not accommodated or afforded that gift. To have a spouse that loves you enough to say, I'll take on the brunt of the labor when it comes to being outside of the home so that you can be in the home, but you're not utilizing your time. If my kids were school age, there is no way in the modern day time that I would not have taken the time when my kids were in school to be doing something educational, letting my degree go to waste that I spent all that money for and not being able to have my own personal money. There are so many things that people can can be doing. I've seen some stay-at-home wives that even start, doing like little daycare services to have extra money so they have their kids home and they also take care of other kids. That is a lot of work, but one thing about it is you are bringing in your own income in your stay-at-home settings. And nowadays, there's so many other things that you can do, like within the last 5 to 10 years with content creation and working from home and stuff like that. So there's no reason not to be making some kind of money when your kids are in school age. But I think people get lax, and people think things are always going to stay the same, even if your husband didn't cheat on you, even if you're, stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad. Even if that wasn't the case, what about in the situations where people have 3 or 4 more kids and the spouse dies suddenly? And and then you've been out of the workforce? You should never be comfortable not using the skill that you either went to school for or that you went and got, your certificate or whatever the case may be. Why are you comfortable just sitting there not doing anything? I personally would feel like that's a lot of pressure on my husband, because and that leads to burnout, because then they have to come home with the kids and they can't take any day off. There's 5 kids at home and a wife. That's a lot. So I think it just goes into lack of planning and people just thinking that life is going to stay the same. And then when they finally get out of that because they've been over it, they're bitter and they're mad at everybody else. Now, the ones I don't agree with is trad girlfriends. If I was a man, I wouldn't be taking care of no girl I'm not married to.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a no for me.
And there's levels to it. I get that. I agree with you. Like, if you're not married, then you don't have any obligations to her. If you guys have a child
baby
together,
mama or not, I don't care.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I agree. But as a child, if you have a child together, either you split the time with the child, because the child has to have overhead. Like, who are they mainly going to stay with? I don't feel like that person as an adult, you're individually responsible for your well-being. If you have the child,
a stay-at-home girlfriend is a waste of a person.
Yeah,
that's a lazy person to me, and I don't care how well if he can afford it. But why are you comfortable spending that man's money while he works all day and you sit at the house? There's no way I would want a spouse like that. And there's no kids? You're crazy.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just for his company. If that's what he wants and he likes it, then that's his
He's dumb.
I saw one guy online and he was like, he did have a stay-at-home girlfriend, and he said that if he wanted to take trips or if he wanted to, he wasn't like, hey babe, you gotta, she's like, oh, I gotta request a time off or doing it, because he wanted like a companion and to just
you
freely...
want a prostitute, because that's what that is.
A prostitute, a stay-at-home prostitute,
pretty much.
But it's his girlfriend.
That's not a girlfriend.
And he wanted to like travel, and he wanted her with him at his side. And he was like, I just prefer a woman that didn't work. I mean, if she had other ambitions, he's not going to stop her. But he preferred, to get on the go. But the modern
anybody who likes a person who has an idle mind is either a very, I'm not going to use the word narcissist, but they're very controlling type person. Or no, that's pretty much it. Because why would you want somebody that's not just as ambitious as you? And I don't mean like she has to be a girl boss, because those girl bosses are kind of scary. But I just mean just accomplishing something. Even if she's at home and she, plays video games, she could be a gamer girl that, is making some kind of money. Like, I would not be comfortable with somebody that's not doing something to mentally be getting better every day, besides just waking up, drinking expensive coffee and spending my money. How would eventually that's not your equal? That's literally like your child. That's a pet cat. That's literally a cat. Just give her some kibble at that point.
Not the kibble.
Well, go ahead, please continue.
But the traditional wife and the modern wife, they want you to go back into, like, when you think of a modern traditional wife, you're thinking about Betty Crocker or someone back in the 30s and the 40s when, when father knows best and he goes out to work and the wife is at home cleaning and cooking and having dinner ready
That
when the
sounds
kids come.
great. Where do
I
I
know. To
sign?
me, I'm like, take me back. But listen, but there's this
Put
saying
me
like
in, coach.
the men are like, women are supposed to be in the kitchen. Women stay in the
At
kitchen.
this point. But don't be
But
mad when my back is as big as that fridge either.
you know what? But then but it's,
JK,
you
JK.
gotta stay in the kitchen and keep yourself right. I feel like if they need to make sure they time management. Women don't time management accordingly.
Facts.
And as a mom, I had to learn how, especially when I was in undergrad or trying to do a master's or whatever, or in working jobs in a corporate job, I had to learn how to balance everything. And then I did incorporate, understood that I was a mother, so I had to make sure, okay, is this how far is this from my child's school? Or, I did have to incorporate that. If it's an emergency, can I get there pretty quickly? How far is it from home? How long going to take? Blah, blah, blah. But I can't, some parents just circle everything around their kid and then they don't take care of themselves, which I had done later on in life. And it was just more, my career was more intense, I would say. However, when you have little kids, I would take her with me and get it to go. She's like, oh, you can't control how you act. Yeah, you can train your child,
Yeah.
as they go.
Definitely can.
So I just think that a lot of the times there's pros and cons when you're a traditional wife.
There's
I
pros and
think
cons to everything, but I think people have to have the common sense to just realize that situations change and you have to be ready in the future. You can be a stay-at-home wife and do something passive to have some kind of income, or you don't, and you can tell your husband, look, if you want me to stay home, I'll do that, but you're going to pay me and give me my own funds. That's
exactly.
untouchable by you. You have to set the rules. You're the one that sets the tone for how somebody's respectfully and how somebody deals with you. So, honey, I have no problem staying home, but that means that I must be upkept too. So
Yeah.
my hair has to be done. My nails has to be done. I need time to relax from the kids. I need time to go to the gym. That'll be your time to chime in. I'll have dinner on the stove. But when I say I need an hour to myself, but you know what? I also say, and I'm only going to say a little bit because I feel like this is another topic
That's what I was just
that,
gonna say
yeah,
that.
I think you
That's
know
what
it. I think you already know.
I was
It's the expectations, these unrealistic expectations of
yeah.
being this perfect parents that you
Mm-hmm.
always have to have your kids on you or under you, and that you can't
Mm-hmm.
put them down for a second. There's no such thing as spoiling the baby. You cry it out hurts them. First of all, if I know my child is okay, I'm not saying abandon your baby. I'm not saying leave that child there, but it only takes 3 minutes to take a shower. And back in the day when I had my children, my daughter sat in a car seat while I took a bath, or she was in her movable little, like, bassinet type thing. I just brung it in the bathroom. When people say they don't, and I'm not criticizing, but I'm saying sometimes people are their own hardship.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like there's no way that I couldn't take a shower for 3 and 4 days with the newborn. I was looking at my newborn like she was crazy. Like, I need to go bathe. I need to make sure I smell good. Now, I'm not saying I didn't get exhausted because, pumping and stuff like that is exhausting. And I didn't have a spouse, but it stop with the unrealistic expectations, this Mary Poppins routine of being the perfect parent, and understand that it's okay if your daughter, your son, whoever sits down there and plays by themselves while you go get yourself ready or have a peaceful cup of coffee. You're doing yourself due diligence and you're doing your spouse a due diligence.
I agree. And I recently came across this Netflix series and they were talking about Martha Stewart. And everybody knows, if you don't
Okay.
know, Martha Stewart has often been celebrated as the queen of domestic life and, back in the day, the OG of trad wives. But while she has popularized, the concept of the traditional wife, I also recognize that her personal life didn't necessarily mirror that lifestyle. In reality, her primary thing, she was a businesswoman and she was successful at bringing the thought of a traditional homemaking ideas to mainstream. However, she also suffered in her personal life because she wanted to that traditional household and family, but being a businesswoman, you sometimes you miss it. But
Yeah.
the and I think that in today's world we have a balance, so work life balance and household responsibilities. It could be a challenge. Like being a mother, you got to cook, you got to clean, because I mean, you got to do it anyways, unless you just want to live in filth. I mean, that's just a personal preference. I just know that I'm the maid in my house, I'm the cook in my house, but I train my daughter to, hey, when I'm not doing this, and I know you got to be trained, this is what you have to do. And I think a lot of modern women, we don't know how to prioritize and balance the
And
household
delegate.
responsibility and delegate it
Delegate. It's
and delegate the
delegate. Yes,
responsibilities.
that's
That's what I'm
it.
saying. Instead of saying, "Oh, I don't have anybody to help me," but did you
But you
ask
do.
as
There's
they get
5 of them.
older? Exactly. Especially if the husband and the wife are both working. Now, if
Right.
you're only working, I feel like you're not working and you're at home, you just got to prioritize.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it comes down to just burnout, because even staying at home, you can get burnt out of being
Yeah,
home.
because that's a
Kids,
job within
kids,
itself.
exactly. Kids aggravating, and
Yeah.
not just they're bad or anything, just because anything that requires your constant attention so that they don't die or burn down the house or start a riot, it's absolutely tiring. So even people that stay at home need those breaks, but it's all about delegation. Girl, when them kids old enough to not burn your house down, go take a nap.
Exactly. But I feel like if you have the opportunity to be a housewife, it is
Um,
crucial to prioritize your
yeah,
interests, your
absolutely.
own self-interest within yourself. Like, don't just lose yourself in your marriage. Don't just lose yourself in your children.
Yeah.
Even if it's a couple of hours a week or just that time in your bubble bath or that time in your art.
We
And
not
just
saying go to the club.
I mean, if they want
Don't
to
go
go
to
to
the
the club,
club though.
whatever makes them happy, I feel like you can't just, but some people overdo it. They overindulge in
Yeah.
anything they do instead of
Yeah.
having boundaries. But
Agree.
if it's something, I feel like always keep your finance, even if it's quick, easy, no basic information, put something away, plan, have that conversation with your spouse. Like if something happens, you
Absolutely.
leave me, or have your own little nest egg
Yep.
ready just in case. That's just adulting in general.
Yep.
Because I observed successful women though that have raised their families, but say they've been in corporate office all
Mm-hmm.
their kids' lives. I think they look back and they look at the moments that they missed and they regret it. So, and even with Martha Stewart, she said being she's made a business out of traditional wifing and DIYing and doing yourself and how to be and take what you have and be the best at home and do it yourself. And then she said her own family, she looked back at her daughter and she kind of was like, I miss some of those moments. And you can look in her eyes and she was like, what is it to my career than missing out on my family? So, I mean, you
Yeah.
could get all that and then you get older in your age and then you get kind of lonely because it's like, you sacrifice your kid's life at a young age when you're career driven and it's all about me. I think a lot of people, it's all about self, 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 self. And then you forget your family. Because some people, they do want kids, but then, the ones that don't have kids, they think about that later on. They're like, well, dang, did I miss out
I
on the
think people
moments?
have to be grateful for what they have, because god
Yeah,
dang, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I
exactly.
mean, I think it's just too much emphasis on trying to be the best individual. You got to give. If you
Mm-hmm.
want, especially like in this economy, if you want a good house, if you want a good car, then, even if you have kids, it has to be that medium where I got to work too. And we have to even teach our children that sometimes mom and dad is not always there, but I'll be there for your most important aspects. I can tell you that as a working parent, a working single parent, I have never missed a play. I have
Mm-hmm.
never missed a school feast. I've never missed a Halloween parade, because my work, and I made sure I would rather make less to make sure that I was there than made more, because I always told them my kids come first and I walk out.
Yeah. I
I don't
mean,
care.
I've had moments where I missed not a lot of opportunities because I made sure I put her in places that were around me, but I did miss one or two just here and there. But I made sure the main events were missed. Because when you're a single parent, sometimes you feel like if the job is not lenient and it's a male driven job, they don't understand your child is sick sometimes, and you have to, let them know. But however, when everything is on you, sometimes you do have to make the decision. Is this a moment that I can sacrifice just because I need to make sure I have food and shelter over my kid and I'm doing what's best for the family? It's a hard balance, because at the end of the day, when you're in business, people don't care that your child is sick. The business still has to move. So you do have to find that balance, and you tell them up front, because you have to let them know these are my responsibilities, and it's up to you. Yeah, at the end of the day, if they fire you because of that, hey, it's just a job.
Right.
However, you also have to make sure, and I can see the people that do sacrifice, because I've been there. It's like, it's all on me. If I don't do this, my child does not eat,
And
so
I don't
that.
think that especially stay-at-home women don't realize how much so many you're yelling at your husband that he's missing everything, but if he doesn't miss it, he's giving you the opportunity to be there. Exactly. I feel like some people are just so ungrateful. You want it all, and you wonder why, like when men suffer from depression or hurt themselves, fatally, and they don't tell you, oh, I never saw it. Nah, honey, you weren't looking, because you stretched that man so thin, that he couldn't have a break. He couldn't take any time. And I see that, and I just look at other people like, there's no way I think that was probably my own issue in a relationship, that I was too lenient on the guy to where I was doing everything. But I just see these women, especially with these blue collar worker men that go work out, work 15 hours and then try to go to the gym and come home and be dads. And then the women are still just as, well, you're not doing this and you're not doing that. Girl, he been gone for 15 hours.
Yeah. And then
I feel so bad for them.
I guess are the new stay-at-home moms are like, when the dad comes home, it's his turn to take care of it. I've been with the baby all night, the screaming baby. I haven't got any sleep. But just imagine you're outside and you're in the world, you're in a hot sun and you're dealing with the world. And then you come back and you're physically tired. So I think that's another thing with women. We got to be understanding on each person's role.
If you know you're that tired and your husband has afforded you the money to stay home, hire a night nurse so that you both can take a break.
Yeah.
Because that's not fair on him either.
Yeah. Especially, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's already been working, he's out in the sun, and he's come home, he's physically tired, and you hand him this child, and he's like, well, what have you been doing all day?
And then, it's a logical question, but so I don't do anything?
I don't do the house isn't clean.
And no, we're not pick-me's. We're just people who we've been single for a very long time, and we get it. I understand being a stay-at-home mom, and I understand being a working mom, and I'd rather be a stay-at-home mom any day.
I think that a lot of relationships miss the grass, and I had to learn this just even when people are married, just in being in marriage, it's just the conversation. Because at the beginning, you need to know where that person stands. If he wants you to be a stay-at-home mom or whatever, you still have to say, if something happens. If he's not saying we're going to be in love forever. We all think about that at the beginning in the honeymoon stage. You know what I mean? But if something happens and he's already telling you you don't have to work, and then he wants to hand you money, then that's going to be a control issue with that person.
I don't think so.
Yes. And I had one scenario saying that this young lady said that her husband didn't allow her to work. He had to give her an allowance. She couldn't.
Yeah, but look what you're saying. He's allowing her to work.
He didn't allow her to work.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. He didn't allow her to work, but that's a control issue.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's a control issue. Then that's something you have to worry about at the beginning. We missed the red flags, but I feel like if you have these conversations with him and he's telling you no, then you're going to have problems at the end.
But that comes with a lot of tape, because we don't know how financially savvy some people are with money. I agree with the talking with your spouse. I don't think somebody saying I'll give you money is an automatic red flag, though.
No, I'm not.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry if I heard that wrong.
I mean, there's a balance. Like, if you tell your husband he's saying he's going to let you, like, say I want to have a hobby. I think I want to do some arts and crafts and I want to sell this online, or I want to be an Instagram or whatever. He said, you know what, babe, you don't have to work, but if whatever you want to do with your time, I support it. That's different. There's other people that say, no, you can't do that. You can't make other money for yourself. I'll give you $20 a week and you figure out what you're going to do it. That's
Oh, well,
control.
see, at that point, it's a divorce. It's been nice knowing you, sir.
I just feel like they need to have these conversations, and some people aren't going to be direct. When you know this, then you're going to know later on you're going to have an option.
I just feel like at that point, it's because you've made a conscious decision to be a personal indentured servant versus getting yourself at that situation. They always say victim blaming, but I have a question. At what point do you take responsibility for your action or your lack of inaction when you saw that something was wrong? Was it year 20 or year 10?
I agree. And I think a lot of people don't like to take accountability for their actions. Yes, they done this to you, but it's time to you to lie in the victim and be a victim, or figure out how you're going to get out the situation. I think that a lot of people do victimize themselves and always want pity, but that's a whole nother story. But these women that now they especially these older traditional wives are showing the backlashes and whatever, and
I don't think it's the older. I think those are the Gen Xers. The boomers, most of them are still happily married.
I'm talking about the women that recently got divorced because their husband left them for a 20-year.
Yeah, those are the Gen Xers. They're like in their 50s and their 60s.
But I'm saying they're the ones that have much more to say, because like I wanted to talk about the lady with the TikTok. She said her and her husband. I'll send you the TikTok later, but it was her friend. It wasn't even her. Her friend was a lawyer. She met her husband in law school. She got 2 degrees. Her husband got a degree. She decided to stay at home. She didn't use that degree. 15, 20 years, I don't know, down the line, then he leaves her. He treated like crap. She didn't have alimony support, blah, blah, blah. And now she's back in the work field with no experience. And it's like different. You have a degree, for one. I don't care.
Sounds like a duck to me.
Yeah, I don't care what it is. I'm going to be doing some volunteer work. I'm going to be actively using that. Yes, you have kids. However, you just don't know.
But the thing is, the kids weren't little for 15 years.
That's true.
Please continue. I'm sorry, I just had to ad-lib that.
But I think they're saying, well, y'all are glorifying trad wives and traditional wives. But what if that man leaves you? You have no work experience. You put yourself on the back burner. You didn't care till you only took care of your man, and then he goes out and cheats on you, and now you're left with nothing. What are you going to do then?
The same thing I was going to do, because if he was going to cheat on me, if I was working 50 hours or not. If the nature individual is to cheat on you, then they're going to do it. It doesn't matter if we're 50-50 or traditional.
Exactly. Because I know
you're a cheater.
Doctors and lawyers that work all the time and their man still cheats. So, I mean.
Well, they say that doctors and lawyers and all that different kind of stuff have the highest cheater because they're usually
gone so long.
People.
Oh.
It's a character trait.
It's a character trait. Okay, when you get these type. But I feel like there's risk in anything, and women have to take responsibility for their actions as well as men. But when it comes to this, you can't always blame the victim. You can't be the victim.
It's not your fault he's a cheater, but it is a fault. It is your fault when you see that this isn't going the way. It becomes our fault. Exactly. And we let it continue. That's on us.
But now you can't blame him, because some people turn the other cheek because they don't want to be alone.
I'd rather be.
What's a little cheating? But I just feel
what's a little cheating? An STD that you can't get rid of.
Yeah, what's a little cheating?
What's a little syphilis? What's a little gonorrhea? What's a little AIDS? Permanent.
What's a little outside baby? Okay. No, but I know I don't want to get off topic, but I was also looking at the Whitney Houston documentary, and I noticed, this is just kind of doing this, when they first met, Whitney was a pop star. He was a pop star. And like he said, he was very conceited. But as her career started to heighten and she went into a different stratosphere, he started feeling less needed. He
turned into a stay-at-home wife.
Yes, he did. He started acting out and cheating and doing things because his manhood felt threatened, and you could tell it in. And then she wanted to keep her marriage together. And even though she wasn't in a traditional standpoint, she believed in that traditional household and family and wanting that. And a lot of times, sometimes somebody's ego gets the best of them.
Yeah.
Especially when there's a man and a woman makes more money and they flip the gender roles. And that's a whole nother topic. But
but
it's just crazy how society always plays one after the other. I look at the realistic. Okay, what's the both sides? Okay. Where can we meet in the middle? I'm always looking solution generated.
I
I'm
don't want
very
to meet in the
solution
middle.
oriented.
I'll cook.
Yes.
I don't
I
want to
love
meet in
to
the middle.
cook.
I'll
I
cook.
just, if I have someone that I can still do a business and someone says, you know what, go ahead and take care of cook and clean. And I already have to do that anyways. And I don't have to go to a 9 to 5 every day and stress out about getting deadlines done, getting things done. And
I would Swiffer until I couldn't Swiffer anymore, my guy.
Want that? Who wouldn't want that? But I'm not saying lose yourself in the process.
I would Swiffer until I could not Swiffer
house would be clean, the kids would be ordered, you know.
I don't even care. I don't.
I just think that
there's a reason I'm not a. There's
a
reason I haven't been chosen because I would be a beast.
I mean, I was chosen. It just that I just can't be the man in the relationship and the woman. Like I can't be traditional wife. That's a whole nother topic. I can't be the traditional house and the man. Like I can't. I can't play both roles. We live, we learn.
That's it.
But ultimately, just finding a balance that works for you is essential. Ensuring that you pursue your passions while you're cherishing your family time is key. So it doesn't matter what works for me, what works for you. You got to find a middle ground that works for you and your family and cherish those moments because time, you never get it back. And enjoy it while you can. If you can be a trad wife, enjoy it. If you can't, stop hating on the ones that can. Yes, there's pros and cons. But cherish the family that you have and stop talking about the other people because they get to enjoy their life.
Ew, don't make that face.
Oh my goodness. Well, do you have any closing remarks on that?
I'm just going to say, like you said, I'm just going to go off of what you said. There's pros and cons to everything, but I think just common sense comes into being a factor. This isn't the 1800s. This is today, and you have to address old things with sometimes modern problems to improve upon it. Going into the relationship, any type of relationship, whether you choose to do it traditional or you choose to be modern, I think everybody needs to take precautions, male, female, it doesn't matter. As long as you're in a relationship with a partner, another person, things can change. And you should always protect yourself legally, especially, so that there's no hard feelings and what's done and done, and you can just love your partner and go on and don't have to worry about it. Make your stipulations, be upfront, have the candid conversations that matter. So just make sure to take care of yourself and each other.
I love it. I love it. Find a medium that works for you and your household. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to Millennial Intense Conversations That Matter. I'm your girl, Jay Cherish.
Dame Zed signing off.
Bye.
To hear more from Millennial Intent, hit like and subscribe. And don't forget to tell a friend.